Let me start with a scene that is painfully familiar. It's the 24th of the month. Payday is still a week away. You open your banking app in a grocery store parking lot, and somehow your checking account looks like it's been in a bar fight. You didn't go on a luxury vacation, you didn't buy a Rolex, you didn't do anything that felt reckless. And yet, your money is gone. That's the mystery, isn't it? Because most people don't feel broke after a spectacular mistake, they feel broke after a very ordinary month. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. Because if your salary runs out early, the first instinct is to blame income. I need a raise, I need a side hustle, I need to make more. And sure, more income helps, of course it does. But in America, that is usually not the core diagnosis. The deeper truth is more uncomfortable than that. Your salary is not disappearing because you are irresponsible, and it's not disappearing only because you don't make enough. It's disappearing because your paycheck enters the month already surrounded by housing, by transportation, by debt, by inflation, by convenience, by systems designed to turn earned income into spent income before you even feel rich. Tonight, I want to show you something most people never fully see. Your problem is not just income. Your problem is the architecture around income. And once you see that, your entire financial life starts to make sense. Here's the first number I want burned into your mind. The median full-time wage and salary worker in the United States earned $1,204 a week in 2025. That's about $62,600 a year before taxes. Not poverty, not riches, just a very normal American paycheck. Now compare that to how money gets used in this country. In 2024, the average U.S. consumer unit spent $78,535 a year, or about $6,545 a month. Housing alone consumed $26,266. Transportation took another $13,318. Together, housing and transportation represented 50.4% of household spending. Before food, before travel, before investing, before joy, half the budget was already spoken for. That right there is the story. People think they have a spending problem. What many actually have is a fixed cost problem, because fixed costs are different from lifestyle spending. A $7 coffee is visible, but a $1,900 apartment, a $640 car payment, insurance, utilities, subscriptions, parking, gas, tolls, phone plans, and minimum debt payments, those are invisible because they repeat. They become background noise. They don't feel like decisions anymore. They feel like weather. And once your financial life starts feeling like weather, you stop managing it. You just survive it. That is when salary starts to run out early. Not because your paycheck is tiny, but because too many people and institutions get paid before you do. Let's talk about the American money trap in plain English. Your salary hits your account, but it is not free money. It already has claimants. The government takes taxes. Your landlord or mortgage servicer takes housing. Your car takes fuel, insurance, repairs, and depreciation. Your debt takes minimum payments. Your health insurance premium takes a bite. Your groceries cost more than they used to. And then your phone, streaming, convenience apps, and small recurring charges quietly nibble at the rest. So what feels like I make decent money but it vanishes is usually this. You are not poor in income, you are poor in remaining income. That distinction changes everything. Because what matters in real life is not gross salary. It's not even annual salary. It is monthly margin. How much is left after the non-negotiables are done eating? That's the real number that determines whether you feel calm or cornered. And in the US, margin has been under assault. The Federal Reserve found that in 2024, 60% of adults said price changes made their finances worse, and 79% said they changed their behavior because of higher prices. Even more revealing, only 51% said they spent less than their income in the month before the survey. Barely half of adults had any monthly breathing room. That means for millions of Americans, the month is not a plan, it is a race. And if you are always racing the month, salary will always feel late, small, and insufficient. Now let's get specific about the two categories that quietly dominate American life: housing and transportation. These two costs are not just budget items, they are lifestyle anchors. Once you sign the lease, or lock in the mortgage, or commit to the vehicle, the rest of your money has to adapt around those choices, not the other way around. That's why people can feel broke on incomes that sound impressive at dinner parties. The structure is simply too heavy. Again, average U.S. household spending in 2024 put housing at 33.4% of total expenditures and transportation at 17.0%. That means more than half the budget, on average, is consumed by the cost of existing somewhere and moving around. And renters know exactly what that feels like. In the Federal Reserve's 2024 household survey, the median reported rent was $1,200, and it had risen by roughly 10% a year since 2022. That is brutal, because rent is not just a bill, it is the bill that determines everything else you can afford. So when people say, "I don't know where my money went," a lot of the time, I do. It went to commitments you made months or years ago. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Impulse spending can be corrected next week. Fixed cost inflation traps you for the next 12 months. A too expensive apartment is not one bad decision, it is 12 monthly consequences. A too expensive car is not one splurge, it is a recurring tax on your future self. This is why I tell people, your financial life is usually not destroyed by luxury. It is destroyed by permanent semi-luxury. Now, let's talk about the thief that never sends you a receipt: inflation. People hear 3% inflation and shrug. That sounds small. But inflation is not one thing. It's not some abstract line on cable news. Inflation is your groceries becoming mentally annoying. It's insurance renewals that feel insulting. It's the same life costing more money. As of March 2026, the U.S. Consumer Price Index was up 3.3% year over year, and shelter was still up 3.0% over the prior 12 months. Now here's where people get fooled. They get a raise, maybe 3%, maybe 4%, maybe 5%, and they think, good, I'm moving forward. Maybe, maybe not. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that from February 2025 to February 2026, real average hourly earnings rose 1.4%, and real average weekly earnings rose 1.7%. Real means after inflation. So yes, wages improved, but not by the giant amount many workers emotionally expect when they hear they got a raise. That gap matters, because when your nominal pay rises, but your lived experience barely improves, you start to believe one of two things. Either you are terrible with money, or the economy is rigged against you. For many households, the truth is closer to this. Your raise is being negotiated against by inflation in real time. And inflation has a second effect that people underestimate. It raises the cost of your mistakes. A poor housing decision in a low inflation world is painful. A poor housing decision in a high-cost world is suffocating. So salary doesn't just run out because prices are high. It runs out because prices make every existing commitment heavier. Now we arrive at the most dangerous force in personal finance: debt. Debt is seductive because it lets your current life outrun your current income. That feels empowering right up until the bill becomes permanent. As of Q4 2025, total U.S. household debt reached $18.8 trillion. Mortgage balances stood at $13.17 trillion. Credit cards hit $1.28 trillion. Auto loans reached $1.67 trillion. Student loans were $1.66 trillion. That is not just a macroeconomic statistic. That is a map of claims against future paychecks. Here's the psychological trap. Debt makes your income look bigger than it really is. Because it gives you purchasing power now, but then it returns as fixed monthly extraction later. And once debt becomes monthly extraction, salary starts arriving already weakened. The New York Fed also reported that 4.8% of outstanding debt was in some stage of delinquency in Q4 2025. That tells you something. Importantly, this is not just discomfort. For many Americans, the pressure is becoming strain. Think about what debt does to a paycheck. It removes flexibility. It removes optionality. It removes time. A person with no debt can redirect cash flow. A person with large monthly obligations cannot. That means two workers with the same salary can live in completely different financial universes. One paycheck is income. The other paycheck is cleanup. And if your money keeps going to cleanup, you never feel ahead, no matter what your salary says on LinkedIn. Now let me show you the final layer, the one that turns an ordinary budget into a fragile one. Emergency capacity. Not wealth, not status, not even income, just the ability to absorb surprise without financial injury. In 2024, the Federal Reserve found that 63% of adults said they could cover a hypothetical $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. That means 37% could not do that cleanly with cash. Only 55% said they had savings for 3 months of expenses in a rainy day fund, and 30% said they could not cover 3 months of expenses by any means if they lost their main source of income. That is the heart of the story. When you don't have financial shock absorbers, your salary has to do 3 jobs at once. It has to fund your present, it has to rescue your emergencies, and it has to build your future. Most paychecks cannot do all 3 unless the system is designed properly. This is why people raid long-term wealth just to survive short-term pressure. In 2024, 14% of non-retirees borrowed from, cashed out, or reduced contributions to retirement accounts in the prior 12 months. That is a flashing red warning light. It means present stress is cannibalizing future security. So no, the salary problem is not always an income problem. Very often, it is a fragility problem. A person with margin can survive an inconvenience. A person without margin turns inconvenience into debt. And once inconvenience becomes debt, next month's salary is already gone. So let's say it clearly. Your salary runs out early because your money has too many masters. That's the real reason. Not just low income, not just bad habits, not just inflation, not just debt. It's the combination of all of them arranged in the wrong order. In America, a lot of people are trying to build wealth with a paycheck that is forced to serve consumption first, fixed costs second, debt third, and investing last. That order is fatal, because whatever comes last usually gets nothing. And for most households, the 2 things that come last are the 2 that matter most: savings and investing. So people say, I'll invest when I earn more. But what usually happens, they earn more, then they upgrade the apartment, upgrade the car, upgrade the subscriptions, upgrade the expectations, and their future self gets the leftovers again. That is why some people make $60,000 and slowly build wealth, while others make $120,000 and still feel hunted by the month. The difference is not always intelligence. It is not always discipline. Often, it is sequence. Who gets paid first? If life gets paid first, you stay dependent on salary. If assets get paid first, salary begins to create freedom. That's the shift. Not make more and hope, but reorder the flow. So what do you do with this? You stop treating money like a pool and you start treating it like a payroll system. Every paycheck needs assignments the moment it arrives. First, protect margin. If housing and transportation are eating your life, don't look for a miracle stock tip. Fix the load-bearing walls first. The fastest way to feel richer is often not earning another $5,000. It's removing a recurring $400 obligation. Second, automate the future before the month gets emotional. Investing should happen when the paycheck lands, not at the end of the month when your willpower is weak and your expenses are loud. Third, never let a raise fully become lifestyle. A raise is not permission to expand fixed costs. A raise is a rare opportunity to buy more future. Fourth, build shock absorbers before chasing status. An emergency fund is not conservative. In a volatile economy, it is offensive strategy. It keeps one bad week from stealing one good year. And finally, remember this. The goal is not to worship frugality. The goal is not to feel guilty every time you enjoy your money. The goal is to make sure your salary is not doing all the work alone. Because when you own assets, when you have liquidity, when your fixed costs are controlled, your paycheck stops being your entire life support system. And that is when money starts to feel different. Not because you became rich overnight, but because your salary finally gets to stay in your life long enough to matter. So if your salary keeps running out early, don't start with shame. Start with a better question. Not, why can't I hold on to money, but who is getting my money before I do? Answer that honestly, and you'll understand your entire financial life. Because why your salary runs out early is usually not income. It's the system wrapped around it. And once you change the system, the same paycheck can start producing a completely different life. Thanks for watching. If this helped you clear through the noise, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.